Relations Committee. And Senator Menendez, let's start out where Senator Graham just left off right there. He says he praised your letter, says he agrees with the goals in that letter, but says it needs to be backed up by the threat of force and a new authorization.
Well, I love my friend Lindsey Graham, but I think first we have to give a chance at peace. And that's why we outlined very clearly what a successful agreement would be, a complete, irreversible effort at the denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula. Pretty much what the Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, said before the Senate Foreign Relations Committee when I asked him questions, as well as the National Security Council advisor, Ambassador Bolton. So our standard is trying to define clearly what success is, because getting a deal with North Korea is not the difficult part. In fact, three administrations, President Clinton, President Bush, and President Obama, have acquired some form of a deal, only ultimately to have them fail. So I think it's important at this point in time, when North Korea has advanced its program so dramatically in terms of its ability in its nuclear power and its ballistic missile program, to define that deal as the complete, irreversible, and verifiable denuclearization of the peninsula. And so let's see what that brings us first and foremost.
But do you have any belief that Kim Jong-un can accept something like that, can accept that kind of a deal that's verified by inspectors inside his territory?
Well, this is exactly the effort that was made with Iran. And they did not have nuclear weapons. Our concern there was about their advancement of their nuclear enrichment and a pathway towards a nuclear weapon. In this case, when you already have nuclear weapons, the threat is clear. When you have nuclear weapons and you've developed intercontinental ballistic missile capability, the threat is real to the United States as well as to our allies. And so without such verification of any potential agreement of its dismantling of its nuclear program, dismantling of its ballistic missile program, we won't know whether the threat is real or not. And so we need to know, but through verification, inspections, that in fact that is taking place. And so that's why defining success here is so important, especially when the administration has suggested that if they could reach a deal, they might very well submit it as a treaty to the United States Senate, in which the Senate would vote. So I think it's important to define it before.
So you would need that kind of assurances before you would sign on to a peace treaty. What about the alternative? If this doesn't go as well as we all hope, and it leads to military force, can you sign on to that use of force authorization that Senator Graham is talking about?
Well, first of all, this is our concern here. The president has gone into a high-wire act without a safety net, and the preparation for this type of summit, while we applaud robust diplomacy, the preparation for this type of summit to test the proposition of what Kim Jong-un is really willing to do or not has not taken place. And so this is a bit of a risk. I want to see first what is produced here. I don't think you're going to have an agreement on Tuesday. But at the end of the day, the question is there a process where a real agreement of irreversible denuclearization, verifiably so, on the Korean Peninsula is possible? I'm not ready to give an authorization for the use of military force to this president or any other one until I understand that the path for peace is not attainable and that the threat continues to be a real challenge to the national security of the United States. And we have all of the intelligence and a robust debate in the Senate on such an AUMF. I have prepared AUMFs as the former chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee in the past and voted for some. I have voted against others. It depends upon the totality of the circumstances. So I can't just jump on to give the president the authority to have a switch in which he can engage in an attack, nuclear or otherwise, against North Korea.
Does President Trump deserve credit for getting us to this point?
Well, look, as I say, we Democrats believe in robust diplomacy. I get concerned that the president thinks that this is a mano-a-mano engagement in which he can achieve the success that we want, which is a completely denuclearized Korean Peninsula. To the extent that Kim Jong-un has already gone from international pariah to being normalized internationally. you have to say that he's had some success here. A meeting, as I have said, and a deal is not the hardest part. It's getting the right deal at the end of the day. We've had President Clinton, President Bush, and President Obama all got deals, and they did not meet with Kim Jong-un or his predecessor in order to get a deal. And so this deal has given international recognition to North Korea's leader. And so I hope the president can succeed. We want him to succeed. But I think success has to be defined not as a grand moment in which you say we have peace in our time, when in fact we don't have the verifiable elements of a denuclearization, dismantling of its nuclear program, its ballistic missile program, as well as I think that the chemical and biological weapons should be on the table. Because if you avoid a nuclear challenge, but you can deliver an intercontinental ballistic missile with chemical or biological weapons, that is equally a threat.
Senator Menendez, thanks for your time this morning.